Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. Hopefully you've all had a wonderful weekend. Today we're going to be diving a little bit into the price action of Bitcoin. You know, we've covered it largely. 30K was always to be suspected as resistance. You know, it's got historical data that confirms that, and often you'll find out that the market interacts with big round numbers. It sounds kind of way over simple, but you know, 25K was the inverse head and shoulders neckline. 30K was always very, very likely. You know, you run into your first real block of volume on your volume by price here, and it's always was to be expected as resistance. And that's exactly what's happened. Now, what happens next is going to be crucial. You know, do we now come down and revisit the 25K neckline, which is totally healthy, by the way, guys, and actually would still confirm a bull case to me? Or do we turn around here? Or do we get back below that 25K neckline and then continue to the downside? You know, this is all going to give you the answers. What plays out in the next month or so is really going to give you the answers for the next 3, 6 plus months down the line. And certainly if we can flip that 30K level, the entire market's going to go into complete bull euphoria. That's my overarching opinion. Of course, we've already got all the levels drawn on here. You know, I do think we've still got this 35K inverse head and shoulders, providing the inverse head and shoulders and getting validated target. And ultimately, that's largely the play that we're taking here, guys. You know, I don't think you're going to revisit 15K until I think there's a reason to suspect that. And right now, I think that it's likely we see continuation of the upside. This proves to be a pullback at a bit of a rally, but a weak one. You know, and some key factors going into next week, which we warned about with the 30K being resistance. We also warned that gold is also at resistance at the same time that Bitcoin is, and so was and is the S&P. This is all stuff we looked at going into the week that we've just had, and it's all sort of came to fruition. The dollar, also, you've got that bullish div there. This is something we've been watching and expecting a bounce for. Again, question is does this continue to climb higher? If the dollar starts to climb higher, if you see your 2-year yields continue to climb, I don't think they will. I think they're ultimately heading to the downside. Then expect more of a kind of risk-off feel for crypto, stocks, and everything else. It's interesting because not just is Bitcoin at resistance and had a rejection from it. Lots of your altcoins are, gold is, the S&P is. If they can all overcome this resistance, it's full send for the market. And, you know, that would be nice, obviously, for the bias that I have in regards to things going up. But, again, it's all really very much about just watching and seeing what this week and the coming month brings. You know, we got another round of CPI. We had sticky CPI in the UK. If you guys want to find out a little bit more about that, what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, you know, we are looking at swing trades and still believe that this is a buying opportunity. Do feel free to check the link in the description and come on board with a Patreon. What I really want to, now that the TA is out of the way, dive into is some pretty interesting news that came out literally an hour ago, and it's to do with China. Chinese city public servants to receive digital RMB salaries from May. Now, China's been piloting and actually using the digital yuan. You can see, and this is an old article, so undoubtedly it would have gone up significantly. China digital currency passes 100 billion yuan in spending. So this is the way that monetary policy is going across the world, and China is ahead of the race. Essentially, they're already piloting this, and now this is actually a big move to start paying civil servants via digital RMBs, which essentially is the way that the whole world's moving. And this, I think, and it's never been, there's never been in my lifetime, and probably many of yours, such an exciting time to be a market participant, because the very concept and idea of money, as I've always known it in my lifetime, and many of you, is now changing. And Bitcoin, even though I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, I'm very appreciative to Bitcoin. Of course, I think we all should be in this space, has opened Pandora's box into in regards to questions that are now being asked and the kind of awakening that's being brought about, I think, to the fiat systems and how they are a bigger Ponzi than Bitcoin, for example. And it's not just China that's moving towards this. We're also seeing, and you had Donald Trump, you had multiple people come out and say that actually the US is losing one of its greatest battles, and that is its world reserve status. And you're seeing fiat systems that are backed by debt. Debt is not becoming a very valuable proposition at the moment. And it's not just the US that is losing this battle. It's the allies that essentially are and have a lot of their value in US dollars. It's very interesting what we're seeing unfold at the moment. And I thought this was extremely interesting. So civil servants, including a public service personnel, public institutions personnel, and personnel of state-owned units at all levels in the city will be compensated in digital RMB payments. A notice issued by authorities governing the Chinese province stated that all civil servants in the jurisdiction will be paid their full salaries in digital RMB or digital yuan from May this year. This is coming across the board. Europe's really advancing their ECB, European Euro, digital Euro. We're seeing the Bank of England really push towards this, and of course the US. This is the world that we're moving towards, and this is when CBDCs, I think, are ultimately a bad thing. I think they're actually a progression of the failing system that we've seen. They've just kind of rebranded it, and this is one of two ways with how they managed to merge CBDCs with the current financial system. It's kind of like they almost have it as a lifeboat, if you will, even though it's just the same thing, actually probably more amplified. And I think actually what the yield curve could be predicting is some sort of mass default of debt. It's very interesting, everything that's going on right now, but there is, and it's a very exciting time as an investor because the opportunities that are going to come about from an entire monetary change and shakeup, which blockchain has ushered in, but the cracks have always been there, is unbelievable. And I think this is, we're seeing, for example, this came out recently. Zimbabwe will introduce a gold-backed digital currency to stabilize the local dollar from its slump, a state-run paper said. I also think you are going to see huge moves towards gold. Because if the value system, which has been the US dollar for so long, is no longer a trustable one or a fair, probably isn't the right word, a viable one, then what do you go to value? And I think actually Bitcoin, and it's why we saw such a bid, it's very positive that Bitcoin saw a bid during the Silicon Valley Bank and the First Republic Bank meltdown, the hashtag banking crisis, because I think Bitcoin's going to play a role in this sort of monetary shift that is to come. And things like gold, I actually think are going to do quite well. It's very interesting as well that Bitcoin and gold, and this is one reason I think actually things could do very well. You look at where gold is, it's a kind of like uncharted territory. Now, anybody that's an investor that technically invests and looks at charts to make those decisions will know that you want blue skies ahead of you. So you don't want price action in front of you. And this could really expand. It's not bad structure at all for gold. Even the S&P, I think if they start to flatten rates and leave them where they are, which looks very soon, whether they do another 25 just to be spiteful or whether they leave them when they are, I even actually do think potentially on the cards, you could see, depending on what unfolds over the next couple of months, a new all-time high for the S&P before shit really hits the fan. That's my thinking. I think there's this golden opportunity going into this, and really playing on the fact that people aren't wanting dollars anymore, and that, we're moving away to that. People do want dollars. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is very interesting that in our lifetime, we're going to see an entire monetary change. And you're already starting to see it. The BRICS undermine dollar hegemony with gold purchases, record gold purchases, by the way, guys. Central banks have been accumulating the precious metal at record rates. Absolutely. Why are they doing this? And BRICS is becoming a force to be reckoned with. We're already seeing Europe, France say that they want to move away from their dollar dependence and actually look to do deals in yuan. We're seeing big deals. I think it was India, or it might have even been Saudi Arabia recently did a big deal with China where they paid in yuan. This typically has and does not happen. Typically it's dollar. And the fact that they're willing to sort of offset the natural order of things, shows that there's a real push towards it. And we've seen and covered lots and lots of things about this. So it's very interesting. I think crypto is going to play a huge role. It's my belief that actually crypto is going to be what everything is ran on, from identity to the securities market, which is hundreds of trillions, to everything. And this has always been the vision. This was, I thought, was actually a good article from Cointelegraph. Usually I'm not a massive fan of their publishers, but Ethereum is going to transform investing. Expect to see tokenized security proliferate in the years ahead, along with heavy investment in Ethereum staking pools. So if these layer ones become what securities and value itself is transacted on, the cost and interest in securing those layer ones goes up massively. I think you'll see $1 trillion Ethereum. I think you'll see probably some other layer ones get to $1 trillion potentially. But it is very interesting. We looked at the Wells Fargo article where it spoke about the Internet of Information, which is what we're currently on, and now we're moving into the Internet of Value. And I know this through having tried to get money to myself abroad or sending money to people abroad. It's a nightmare. Certainly that's just currency. It gets a hell of a lot more complicated when you're trying to exchange like property, for example, or this kind of stuff, or you're trying to move really anything across borders. With blockchain, that problem is completely eradicated. And that's just one niche and one example of blockchain really changing the world and making it very easy to do all this stuff that traditionally you've needed a lawyer's input potentially or other inputs like that. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. In regards to the price action, guys, in my opinion, this is still just a pullback. I think, and people that are trying to look smart, claiming a pullback at 30K, I mean, it couldn't be more obvious if you tried. Does this mean that we're not not bullish anymore? Absolutely not. We still have a bullish outlook. I think even a retest of the 25K neckline still provides that. So you could even do something like this, and I still think this would be perfectly healthy, and this just being a retest. That's not the best scenario in the world. Of course, your altcoins will be getting hit pretty hard as a result of that. I don't think many altcoins are going to see new lows. I think that ultimately now we've got a trend to the upside. I think you're going to see Bitcoin at 40K plus by or at some point this year. And I just think this is a pullback. And if you kind of drop down the time frames and really look at this more specifically, the real question is, do you come and invalidate and run all this? And then you're coming down to your 25K. And again, what happens in the next couple of weeks is going to be telling, because you're watching for these scenarios and you're going to take the one that plays out, hopefully. That's all I've got for you in this video, guys. If you've enjoyed the content, a like is always appreciated. So as a comment, just some food for thought there on China actually now paying salaries in digital yuan. I think this is coming for the entire world. And I think actually we're seeing a massive push away from the dollar and into things like the yuan, into things like gold, into things like Bitcoin and crypto. And I expect that to accelerate over the coming years. All I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, like is always appreciated. So as a comment, I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.